Most teams install visitor tracking tools and expect instant sales insights, but without the right setup, the data stays fragmented and hard to act on. Hi, my name is Justin from LemReveal, and today we'll go through the best LeadBoxer setup for sales intelligence, covering tracking, enrichment, and CRM integrations. So, as you know, the first thing you do with this kind of tool is installing the code that's needed on every single header page of your site. That way, it will track every single visit that your site receives, and that way you'll be able to make sense of the data. So we will be looking at LeadBoxer, which relies on the script to collect visitor data and match it to company information. So to make this work correctly, the script must be installed across the entire website. The best practice is placing it on the header of every single page, and you can use platforms like WordPress, Webflow, or Shopify. So after installing the script, obviously you should verify that it works and that it's firing properly and it gets the data that's needed. If not, then revisit and try reinstalling it. Make sure that you get the relevant data that you need in order to proceed to the next steps. So this is how it looks like with the little house icon on Google. And this is how it looks like when you just click that. You can either opt to start a trial, get demo, or log in if you already have an account. So this is how the dashboard looks like after logging in and also inserting the sites that you want to track. So with that being said, after installing the code, the next thing you should do is configure your traffic filters. Not all website visitors have relevant uh, traffic for sales. However, without filtering your dashboard, it obviously may include internal teams visit, agencies and developers, your competition as well browsing your site. So setting up filters will remove the sources, which ensures that your visitor data reflects potential buyers instead of the noise that you receive. So in other ways, you should be able to use this tool to your own benefit. Don't just rely on the raw metrics or the raw data that you always receive. And obviously, another thing here is to configure lead scoring and segmentation, meaning that this tool includes engagement scoring and it assigns scores to companies based on their behavior, like visiting your page multiple times and so on. So, set clear scoring rules. So, high scores actually reflect meaningful engagement, then create segments based on the company size, the industry, or behavioral patterns. This way, it allows your sales team to focus only on qualified opportunities. So, with that being said, you can always go to segments and have your filters here. So, with that being the case, you can filter your data however way you wish, your visibility, your email, your view, so you can see who visited your site and so on. And with that being said, should you have installed the tracking, I mean the tool, the code, so it will be easier for you. As you can see, you can sort it out between top leads and target audience. That way you know which tool or which audience is easier to target. So in essence, having the right data on your site and receiving the right signals and information allows you to enable your enrichment. So this adds context to identified companies such as your industries, your company size, and location. So with that way, you can potentially or reach out to potential customers, which obviously enrichment turns raw visitor data into usable sales. Without it, you are just seeing company names without context. So you should be able to interpret that information and make that data actionable. So with that being the case, you can also connect this tool, lead feeder, no, I mean LeadBoxer, to your integration. So you can integrate it to your CRM, connecting it to your HubSpot, your Pipedrive, and so on. So with this aspect or with this let's say section here, you can connect it to your CRM tools, and whenever you receive data that's actually useful, you can send it over to your CRM, making it easier for you to reach out to those potential clients. And mostly it's people who have visited your pricing page, people who have visited your case studies page, your products or services page, and obviously have a certain level of frequency coming back and forth. Maybe they might be comparing you with your competitors. That way, you know that this is the right fit for the company, and potentially reach out to them based on how they behave while they are visiting your site. So when connected to your CRM, obviously the visitor activity flows directly there, and the sales representative or your marketing team can see which company visited the website, what they did, and obviously connect with all these potential customers who have visited your website, and have a pipeline activity that works well for your business. So with that being the case, instead of just manually checking the dashboard, you configure your alerts, notify when high scores companies visit your site. So you can always change some aspects to get notified when high level customers visit your site. So you can have your lead in accounts, you can lead dashboard, you can always look at these features in order to know that okay, this is the right fit for the company. They might potentially need our service. Let's reach out to them and potentially win them over. So this alerts turn passive tracking into real-time signals, and obviously sales teams respond with interest while the interest is still active. So the best lead boxer setup focuses on six core elements that you have to look at, that which were also mentioned in the previous video as well. Install your tracking script, filter irrelevant traffic early, configure meaningful lead scoring, segment qualified companies or qualified leads, enable enrichment for context, sync everything with your CRM and alerts. So when this all the steps are aligned, this tool becomes more than just a tracking tool. It becomes a system for identifying and prioritizing companies already engaging with your site. So it makes things easier and more straightforward. So it sort of gives your team an easy time when there is, let's say, a lack of inbound leads. You can focus on outbounds to get that steady flow of clients. So alternatively, you can have a look at LemReveal, a tool we use on for ourselves. That's how it looked on the dashboard. And you have the option of starting your demo, signing in, or getting started for free, basically limited time access. So this is how it looks like on the dashboard, and I'll briefly explain one or two core features of this tool and leave the rest to you exploring the tool. So it mainly focuses on three elements, which is adding your site, installing your tracking pixel, and getting your first visitor data. So with that being said, you can add as many sites as possible, add the tracking pixels that you receive to the relevant site, and you'll get the data that you need. With that being the case, you can also reach out to your potential leads or potential customers by connecting or integrating your HubSpot, your Pipedrive, and whatever CRM tool that you use. And the most fascinating thing about this is your filters. You can filter out with your hot leads, returning people or companies that have returned on your site, which show obviously high levels of interest, and also you know that you can contact them at any given moment. So with this tool, you can double check whether your code is firing by checking. As you can see, no tracking data received yet. You can just click check now after your code has been inserted to see if it's firing correctly. That way there is no need for you to guess whether the code works or not. So if you want to explore this tool in more detail, you can always check the description below. You'll get the links to all the tools that we've been looking at, and you can also browse through them. Let us know of an interesting feature that you find in the comment section, and I will catch you on the next video.